Hi there, this is Darren from Treasure Life Family Farms, and just wanted to give a little look at this 3.5 cubic foot mixer we got from Harbor Freight. I can tell you what my first impressions of it are. We've mixed 10 bags of 60-pound concrete with it so far, and it did it. But I'm going to put this on a I would not recommend list, and I certainly would not buy another one list. And I'll try to tell you why here real quick. First thing that I did not like about this thing was the assembly. And there's really vague instructions, and you almost have to have a bit of an engineering degree to get the handle on over here. I'll tell you about that in a second. Whether or not it's going to last and hold up, I don't know. I've seen some good things about that online, so that's kind of good news. But I think they could double their satisfaction with this thing if they just went and spent like 40 hours on a better instruction manual with some pictures in it or something. Even a detailed online video or something would really help them out. So some of the things that I got some snapshots off the user manual that I'm gonna incorporate in here, in either some voiceovers or overlays with those to explain what's going on. But a couple other things that were really bad about it is these arrows are here, and that's great, but I don't remember the manual telling me to make sure to line those up. And then the other thing is the kids were peeling those off because, hey, why not? That's what kids do. They peel labels off. And these two were still here, but there's some other ones laying on the floor, so I don't know what they were supposed to do. But if you don't realize that you need to line those up, and you just put this drum together and get it so that your 6 holes are somewhere, then the actual mixer blades inside of here are not going to work. They don't fit and they don't work. And then the other thing about building this drum that's a little bit sad is it there's a rubber gasket in here, and the instructions tell you to use a little bit of a gasket maker to stick that down before you put it together. And there's no gasket maker in the kit. I didn't have it on hand, so I used some silicone, and I guess it worked out. It doesn't seem to leak, and I think it's just to kind of hold it in place. I don't think it does anything with the gasket maker. And without it, it might have been quite a chore to get that thing ready to go in there. So that's one thing. This handle, there's a spring right in here, and all the instructions say is to put the spring in the tube. There's a little blocker here so the spring can't just go in, and then that spring is what makes this work. And it actually, it's not bad. The idea here is there's nothing really wrong with it, except for how do you get that in there? And I'm a pretty big guy, and I pulled down with this with quite a bit, most of all my weight, and the kids were trying to get that bolt to come in here, and it just wasn't happening. We ended up taking a giant clamp and we put a big nut under here so there's some space, and we squeezed this down, and we got one side in, and we finagled it, and we eventually got both sides in. But there's nothing in the instructions about how that's supposed to happen. And I'll tell you, your average normal person is not going to just pull down on that and slide that bolt in. So I don't know what the plan was originally for that. My other thing that's been keeping me up at night, and I don't have the cover off, so I won't be able to show you, but just inside of here there's about a 10-inch aluminum pulley, and it goes onto a shaft with a hex key, and there's a hole in the end of that shaft, and it looks like you should screw a screw in it, and there really wasn't one, and the directions are really, again, vague on that. any of the bolts and things that we saw in the kit didn't work with that thread set, and the more I've thought about it since we put it together and since we used it, so there has to be something in there, otherwise that hex key can just walk out of there someday and be gone. Once that drops out the bottom, you'll never find it. You'll just be out of luck and halfway through a mixing job. So I looked a little more, and when you go to the exploded parts diagram, there's actually some sort of a screw that goes in there that wasn't in our kit. It appears to have a hex end on it, and it wasn't there, so that's why we couldn't get it to work. And that was you know, my thought, I finally came to the conclusion they must just hold that wheel in place by the tension on the belt and the position of the motor, which still doesn't make sense, but they're saving like a nickel on the freaking bolt. So and then, you know, like I say, the more I thought about it, that key can just walk out of the end of there, and so it has to have a screw in there with probably a little Loctite on it would make some sense, and then you know, some sort of a big enough washer to hold that all in place. So I looked on the instructions, and I'll show it hopefully on some picture inserts here, that there's an M6 by 15, must be threads per inch, screw that's supposed to go in there. So I'm going to try to find one of those at Home Depot or Menards, take this cover off, and then put that on there, and that will get me to where I think I've got a mixer I can use. Now, will this thing last? I don't know. I kind of hope so. We have about a 300 bag project we're going to work on first, and then we'd like to have it around for, we're going to build some fence for goats and cows, and so we want to cement in some posts. So we want a mixer. The Ryobi at Home Depot is not available. There's a Yardworks that even looks a little better than this, not available anywhere online anytime soon. So here we go. This is it. We mixed 10 bags with it. Built a little slab for our egg stand out by the road, and it actually turned out okay. And now that I rethink it, I'm a little surprised that key and that pulley didn't just come off, but we'll get that before we start our next big job. The one last thing I want to show is I mounted this on a pallet, and you can see I just left the wheels off, screwed it down to the pallet like that, a couple bolts over there to get it in there. And we put this on the forks on the front of the Kubota, and for the most part it works pretty good. I'm going to build a little slide here. It's going to kind of hook over this and go down past there, so that when it's fully tipped we don't put any concrete on the pallet itself, and it sort of slides it off the front. We were having the tractor driver kind of tip it forward a little bit. It works that way too, but a little slide there would be really, really good. So we're going to do that, put a little slide there, get this hex bolt in there, and then our next job is about 100 bags, maybe 90, or could be a little less, but basically a 4 by 26 by 4 inch deep slab that we're going to pour. Like I say, it'll take 3 or 4 hours. We'll work from one end to the other. We'll smooth it out as we go, and it'll turn into a slab that's worthy of what we're building it for. But that's kind of my take on this mixer to start with. It's got a 90-day warranty, which is pretty disappointing. Should be more than that. The Ryobi from Home Depot is 3 years. The Yardworks is 2. So, you know, I guess we got it. We're gonna do some pretty big project with it right away. So if it's gonna wimp out or go bad, then we'll be kind of stuck in the middle of our concrete project with a broken mixer. But otherwise, maybe it'll work. And oh, the other thing is I did 2 60-pound bags in this, and I'm glad I'm not doing 2 80-pound bags, and I'm not going to do 3 60s. So kind of my take on it is 2 60s is plenty for this 3.5 cubic feet mixer to actually do a decent job. I'm on still on a do not recommend based on the assembly. I would try to go just about anywhere else. You know, sorry Harbor Freight on that deal, but just cannot endorse this thing based on how it was to assemble it. Maybe you guys should call me and we'll make a manual or something for you. Thanks for watching, and look for our next video on how we poured the 10-bag base for our egg stand. Thanks.